How did Vikings sleep without freezing to death? You ever notice how we sit inside a heated house wrapped in 2 blankets, fuzzy socks on, and we're still whining about the cold? Meanwhile, 1,200 years ago, a Viking warrior was sleeping in a wooden longhouse on the frozen fjords of Norway, wind howling like a banshee, snow piling up to the roof. And he wakes up like it's just another Tuesday. No thermostat, no electric blanket, not even proper windows, just timber, fire, and good old-fashioned Norse know-how. And here's the kicker. Those winters weren't some once-in-a-lifetime blizzards. They rolled in every single year without fail, lasting for months. Families didn't just get through them. They thrived through them in settlements that to modern eyes look about as cozy as a wooden barn. But instead of freezing solid, they stayed warm, comfortable even. So the million-dollar question is, how on earth did they pull that off? Because if most of us today got locked out of our apartment for one night, we'd be popsicles before sunrise. But back then, they turned brutal Scandinavian winters into a system. 7 survival tricks so clever they'll make you wonder if maybe we're the soft ones. The perfect location, reading the land like runes. Imagine this. A Viking family 1,200 years ago dragging timber and tools across the frozen landscape. Storm clouds are rolling and daylight's fading, and they have one decision to make. Where to build the longhouse? Pick wrong and the whole family could be frozen corpses by spring. They weren't just throwing darts at a map. They read the land like experts. First rule, never build out in the open. The Arctic wind cuts sharper than a battle axe, but nestle into a hillside or behind a ridge. Suddenly you've got a massive wall of protection. That natural windbreak could bump the temperature inside the longhouse by several degrees. And in a Norse winter, a few degrees meant the difference between a good night's sleep and frostbite. South-facing slopes worked like free solar panels. They caught every precious ray of winter sun. Then the earth slowly released that warmth through the night. Smart families built their longhouses to catch that warmth, angled just right to maximize daylight hours. But you had to know your stuff because the wrong angle meant living in permanent shadow. And let's not forget the fuel. Firewood wasn't optional. It was survival currency. Run out in the middle of a blizzard and you weren't just cold, you were finished. Viking settlements always chose places near forests, with enough deadfall and standing timber to last through the harshest months. This was survival real estate. Location, location, location. And back then, the wrong neighborhood didn't just mean bad schools or loud neighbors. It meant your children, your elders, your entire bloodline could freeze where they slept. The fire system. Engineering heat. Like Norse gods, now picture this. A Viking longhouse made of rough timber and sod standing out in the middle of a frozen fjord. Inside, a family gathers around a long fire pit running down the center of the hall. Sounds dangerous, right? A fire inside a wooden building packed with people and animals. That's basically playing hot potato with your own house. But here's the thing, it worked. And it didn't just work. It kept entire communities alive. The fire wasn't a roaring bonfire. It was long, carefully managed, built in a stone-lined trench running down the spine of the longhouse. That design mattered. It distributed heat evenly throughout the entire space and created perfect airflow. Above the fire, smoke holes in the roof could be adjusted with wooden covers. Depending on wind direction, families could open or close them, guiding smoke upward like a chimney. At the same time, the entrance acted as fresh air intake. Cold air slipped in low, fed the flames, then rose up through the smoke holes. It was primitive HVAC, central heating designed with nothing but stone, wood, and Viking physics. But it wasn't a set-it-and-forget-it system. Someone had to be the firekeeper, the human thermostat. All night long, adults took shifts, feeding split logs, banking coals, making sure no smoke built up. Too much flame and the longhouse turned into an oven. Too little, and the children shivered in their furs. So yeah, imagine trying to build a fire in a house made of kindling. They did it night after night, month after month. And somehow they didn't just survive, they engineered a heating system that could warm 50 people and their livestock simultaneously. The floor system, defeating ground frost. Here's something most people forget. The cold doesn't just come from the air, it creeps up from the ground. Sleeping straight on frozen earth is like lying on a giant block of ice. Within hours, your body heat drains out and you're done. No fire, no fur, no amount of Viking toughness can save you. That's why Norse families turned the floor itself into a survival system. First came the foundation. Stone foundations raised the wooden floor off the frozen ground, creating an air gap that stopped frost from creeping up. Think of it as nature's insulation. Except the manual wasn't written. It was instinct passed down through generations. On top of the wooden planks came layers of straw, rushes, and dried grasses, packed thick enough to stop drafts but still breathable. The livestock, cattle, goats, sheep, lived at one end of the longhouse. Their body heat warmed the entire building like living furnaces. It wasn't just practical, it was brilliant. Animals generated warmth, humans stayed alive. Some families even used heated stones. Smooth rocks from the fjord, heated by the fire, wrapped in wool and tucked under sleeping furs. Suddenly you weren't just lying on wood and straw. You were lying on a slow-release heater that lasted through the coldest nights. Picture it. Children curled in thick fur bedding. Adults sleeping on raised platforms along the walls. Everyone wrapped like Norse burritos on floors designed to fight the cold. That wasn't luxury. It was survival engineering. And it worked night after night, long before anyone dreamed of a heated mattress. The clothing system. Layering like your life depends on it. Here's the thing about Viking winter survival. Your body is the first and last heater you've got. Norse families understood that better than anyone. They didn't just throw on random furs and hope for the best. They had a system. Layers upon layers, each one serving a specific purpose. Base layer was linen or wool against the skin, soft, moisture-wicking, keeping sweat away from the body. Because here's the deadly truth. Wet clothes in sub-zero temperatures could kill you faster than a sword. Middle layers were thick wool tunics and trousers, the thermal barrier that trapped warm air. Outer layers were leather and fur, wind-resistant shields that blocked Arctic gusts. But the real secret was the accessories. Wool leg wrappings instead of pants, easier to adjust, better insulation around the calves. Fur-lined leather boots stuffed with dry grass, thick woolen cloaks that could wrap around the entire body. And those iconic horned helmets? Forget the Hollywood nonsense. Real Viking winter headgear was practical. Wool caps, fur hoods, anything to keep heat from escaping through the skull. They understood something we've forgotten. Extremities freeze first. Hands, feet, nose, ears. These got special treatment. Fur mittens connected by cords so they couldn't be lost. Multiple pairs of socks. Face wraps that left only the eyes exposed. And all of this had to be balanced with one golden rule. Don't overheat. Too much activity meant damp clothes. And damp clothes in a Norse winter could kill you before the enemy ever got close. So they managed their warmth carefully, staying active enough to generate heat, but stopping before breaking a sweat. The fat and grease system, natural weatherproofing. At some point, even the thickest wool wasn't enough. That's when Viking families turned to something most of us today would never consider, rubbing animal fat and seal oil directly on their skin. Sounds gross, maybe, but when survival's on the line, you don't care about smelling like a fish market. You care about not freezing to death. Seal blubber was the gold standard. Thick, heavy, long-lasting. It worked like natural waterproof coating. Once spread on exposed skin, it trapped warm air while blocking icy wind from cutting through. Bear fat was even stronger, used for extended outdoor work, while sheep tallow was gentler, perfect for children's delicate skin. Think of it as functional skincare, not $200 moisturizer from a fancy store, but something far more effective. Vikings even mixed ash from their fires with the fat, creating a thick paste. The carbon particles absorbed heat and held it against the skin. The community system, survival through brotherhood. When it came to survival, Vikings understood that no one person could weather the storm alone. The longhouse wasn't just a building, it was a survival community where everyone had a role. The strongest warriors took the night watch, feeding fires and watching for threats. Women managed food stores and clothing repairs. Children gathered kindling and helped with smaller tasks. Elders shared knowledge and wisdom that could save lives. Sleeping arrangements followed survival logic. The most vulnerable, young children and elderly, got the warmest spots near the central fire. Adults formed protective barriers around them. It wasn't just tradition, it was thermal strategy with life or death consequences. And there you have it! The secrets to Viking survival in icy winters have been revealed. These 7 techniques they used 200 years ago may be far more effective than modern technology. Now it's your turn. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel for more survival stories, and click the bell icon to be the first to know about our new videos. Let us know in the comments, could you survive a Viking winter? Right now. See you in the